It's Fully Threaded Radio, episode 165.
It's changing. They're going after our kids that are going to college, and let's face it, some of our kids just go right along with them, and some of them don't. It just depends on their personality. But
how fast they grow up.
Yeah. But you still love them, and you let them have their say. They don't let you have your say, though. But it's hard to find items. You place an order. This is what purchasing's telling me. They'll place an order for stuff that they just quoted them, and then they'll say the parts are gone. I mean, it's happening that bad. It's really bad. So I quoted an order a week and a half ago to some company in New Zealand. So they gave me the order last week, and I said,
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. If you buy, sell, manufacture, import, or distribute industrial threaded fasteners, this is the podcast for you. Thanks for clicking in, everyone. Eric Dudas here, and a co-host of Fully Threaded is with us as well. He's a man who would never think of boiling a slab of ribs before throwing it on the smoker, and he knows quite a bit about fasteners too. He's Brian Musker. Hey, Bri.
So then I imagine that you will not be boiling ribs, especially in preparation for the upcoming barbecue.
No, that's a cardinal sin. You know that.
I know. Well, I don't know it quite as well as you do. You do a lot more ribs than I do.
Well, it's one of the ways I divert my attention away from work and other serious issues, although barbecue is serious business, but you know what I mean. We all have our ways to escape, and barbecue is certainly one of them. Fishing, another big one that you and I will be doing when you come out to visit next month, Bri. Plus, a lot of people are big into golf, of course, in the fastener industry. We'll be talking a little bit about that on today's episode.
Right, yeah, there's lots of diversions. You can divert into gardening.
Fastener dog training.
Fastener dog training, which I'm going to be doing very shortly. Okay, and more fastener dog training. Trying to get the dog to deal with the neighbor's bird. Trying to get the dog to deal with the neighbor's rabbits.
Sydney's turning out to be quite a handful, isn't he?
Yes, that is true.
Something tells me that a fastener dog episode is forthcoming. But today we'll stick to barbecue, golf, other summertime diversions on this episode 165 of the podcast. Thanks again for clicking in, everybody. This time we're publishing on June 19th, 2021. And as you might have guessed, we're going to use diversions as the theme today. We're going to kick off with a conversation with EFC International sales manager Paul Musgrove. I think a few people know that he's a former competitive pitmaster. He was on the semi-pro tour there for a while in the Kansas City area. He's going to give us a few tips on how we can improve our barbecue skills this summer. And he'll give us an analysis of what he's seeing in the market these days. EFC, of course, a supplier. A lot of you know they're big into automotive. So he's got quite a bit to say on that perspective as well. On the feature segment today, it's INxSQL software founder Bob Reynolds and the uncancelable Joe Truckey from Cal Fasteners. Talk about diversions. We diverted widely during this conversation, Bri.
Yeah, I would have thought so, actually.
Bob and Joe are two longtime golfing buddies. They've done a lot of fastener industry golf. We'll talk about some of those memories, including some from previous Pacific West Fastener Association events where they had team members, including Bob Porteous over the years. And we get into a whole slew of related subjects. Throw in a little fastener industry discussion as well.
Yeah, well, Bob Reynolds' connection with West Coast fasteners people goes back a pretty long way, actually.
INxSQL's huge on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Of course, they're big in the whole industry. He notes they've got something along the lines of 350 installations across North America now. So they've come a long way since we started working with INxSQL.
Yep.
On the Fastener News Report, Mike McNulty welcomes Optimas CEO Marc Strandquist, who is blocking and tackling in the fastener industry. Find out what Mark means by that as he gives his analysis of the latest Fastener Distributor Index results, which were, I guess at this point, not surprising. We're all glad to see them, but we still have a lot of questions in terms of what's keeping it floating among all the tumult.
Yep, that is right.
Mike really winds it up today at the beginning of his report during his opener. He pretty much sums up the context that we have in the world today, June 2021. And then on the back page, he slams it home. McNulty fans will love it. And of course, Carmen Vertullo's got the Fastener Training Minute for us. That's brought to us by the Fastener Training Institute. And don't forget that Worth Industry North America is a sustaining partner of the FTI. We're also one of the sponsors that brings you Fully Threaded Radio, everybody. And Bri, you've got the full list of those partners. Please roll them out.
Yeah, I do. Near and dear to my heart. That list is always near me. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast, Brighton Best International, and Global Fasteners. Stelfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. Brighton Best International, tested, tried and true. Global Fasteners, quality the first time. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, INxSQL Software, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, 3Q Inc., Volt Industrial Plastics, Worth Industry North America, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. So thank you all, sponsors. Thanks for making the podcast possible. If you, as a listener, are thinking of fasteners, well, you should think of our sponsors first because they're bringing you this podcast.
Thank you, sir. I noticed on page 82 of the most recent Link magazine, 3Q Inc. has a short piece, explains what they're all about. Just wanted to point out that 3Q provides opportunities for challenged adults by setting them up with positions doing kitting and packaging. So if you're looking for some help in that department, consider 3Q. And along with all their other strengths, you might decide they deserve the nod for your business in that area. Now, 3Q operates right down the road from you, Brian, Naperville.
Yeah, and he loves the Fastener Training Minute too. That's why I always remember them.
He told me he's a huge fan. Well, thanks, 3Q. Thanks to all our sponsors, and thanks to each and every one of you for listening into the podcast. Get with us anytime. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. So we're using diversions as the theme for the day, and I've got a short list. I just want to put it right here at the top of the episode. There are several fastener events coming up. Some of you may consider them diversionary. Some of you, they may just be work. You got to do it. Either way, July 10th, the NCFA Social's happening. In connection with this, Solution Industries is having an open house, and there's a training event too. Carmen Vertullo will be featured. I got a flyer here from Laura over at Solution Industries. They've gone full throttle with this. So if you go to solutionind.com, you can sign up for the open house and the training session. Now get this, bribe. Carmen's going to spend a full, I guess it's complimentary training session. And this is in connection with AIM Testing Lab.
Mm-hmm.
Subject is, of course, hydrogen embrittlement.
Oh, I'm sure that you're going to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah, bloody wild horses couldn't keep you away.
I'll be there. You'll be there. I think I said July 10th, but it's actually July 8th. It's Thursday, July 8th.
Yeah.
Launches at 9 a.m. Get out to solutionind.com/sign up, and she has the full schedule for the day, culminating in the Distributor Social. That's happening in Strongsville, Ohio, at the Holiday Inn. Doors open for that at 5 p.m. So it's a full day of fastener fun, education, solutions.
And that's a different venue to where the North Coast, where the usual social used to be.
Correct. Back in 2019, and previous to that, it was always in Independence.
Right.
In August, it's the MWFA Fastener Week. We'll cover this in more detail at the top of the next segment, but basically, the MWFA is going all out. It's their 75th anniversary. They've got the golf outing, a big black tie banquet, and of course, the renowned tabletop show. MWFA.net for details on that. In September, International Fastener Expo, Mandalay Bay, Vegas. That's happening on September 21st through the 23rd. And Bri, I hope we have a booth. Morgan's kind of MIA on us, but normally we have a booth, and one way or another we'll be there. Maybe we'll have to just hang out in, I don't know, Eurolink's booth or Buckeye or Solution. One of our friends, I'm sure, will let us set up a little corner, but hopefully we'll have a booth.
I'm sure Morgan hasn't forgotten us.
That's fastenershows.com, folks. And finally, in this roundup of upcoming fastener industry diversions, it's Fastener Fair USA. That's taking place in Cleveland this year, November 8th through the 10th. Go to fastenerfairusa.com. Our booth is locked in there, Bri. Don't worry.
Right, so there's a little bit of activity coming up. This is like the deluge after the quiet.
You're right. That's exactly what it is. And I guess the big question that I have, assuming we do have a booth, Bri, is are you planning on getting a fresh shipment of Vegemite for these shows, or have you thought about that at all?
I don't know. It's a little bit awkward because, since everything locked down, the little bits that I took to the shows, those little sachet things, really you can only buy them in Australia. So I haven't been over there for a year and a half. So I don't know. I'll have to see. I'll see what I can find. Could be awkward.
Well, it'd be awkward if you don't show up with it. On the other hand, if you do show up with it, it's awkward in a whole nother way.
Right. All the people who walk past think, shit, I've got to try this horrible looking stuff now.
That's another one of our really, really fun giveaways that has no practical benefit for our business, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. Much like this podcast.
Well, this has all sorts of practical benefits. People learn lots of things.
Yeah, it's beneficial in some ways. Well, it's beneficial all the way around. We have a lot of fun with it. We're glad to be a part of it, and we're glad you're listening in, everybody. I'd like to say thanks to all the new listeners. There's evidence of a whole slew of you, so welcome aboard. Feel free to go back and listen to the many archived episodes. And those of you who have been around for a while know that this is the point where we cut out for a minute. And when we return, we'll be talking to Paul Musgrove. And we'll take a little closer look at the MWFA week coming up in August.
Yeah.
So without further diversion, let's take care of that. And we'll be back in a minute to put a wrench to this one. It's fully threaded.
Radio.
They're like more cowbell for the fastener industry. Brian and Eric. Fully Threaded Radio.
The U.S. Anchor Line has been a recognized brand in the construction and industrial industries for over 35 years. The products are manufactured to the highest industry standards. The Tap King SD is a Miami-Dade county-approved concrete screw. It includes a traditional blue screw and now a full line of color-coded trim head concrete anchor screws. The trim head series comes in white, bronze, and silver. The Tap King SD has a special protective coating known as Durable Coat, extending the life of the screw and aiding in lubricity during installation. Approved by the state of Florida, the trim head screws are specifically designed for use in installation of hurricane window systems, offering high-velocity wind protection. It has also been tested for use in poured concrete, grout-filled masonry, and hollow masonry substrate. Brighton Best International now offers a full line of concrete screws in bulk or in packaged quantities, stocked and for immediate shipment. For more information, please contact your nearest distributor or visit us at www.brightonbest.com.
Global Fasteners presents the Go-Lock Structural Interlocking Blind Rivet, available in aluminum, steel and stainless steel with diameters 3/16 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch and 3/8 of an inch. The Go-Lock is one of the most versatile and common style of structural rivets on the market today. Paired with the AirPower 3 pneumatic tool, this combination proves efficiently robust for truck and trailer applications, where the need for heavy-duty fasteners is required. With its high-strength features, it is clear why the Go-Lock is the best-performing structural blind rivet in the market today.
Global Fasteners. Quality the first time. globalfasteners.com. Stelfast customers say it all.
Tim Melanson with National Bolt and Industrial Supply out of Fort Worth, Texas. Oh, yeah, I like working with Stelfast. And I like the team at Stelfast. They're dependable, knowledgeable, friendly. The team is. Yeah, I like working with Stelfast.
For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast.
This is Matt DeLauder from SWD, home of the Black Ox, bringing it to you live. Don't miss Fastener Week, sponsored by the Midwest Fastener Association, August 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. It's going to be the biggest fastener industry event this season. There's a basic print reading class for those people who want to learn how to read a print. You have a fastener tabletop show, the best in the industry. We're also having the 75th anniversary gala black tie affair. Nothing like it has ever been done. Then on the 18th, we have a golf outing. This is the Midwest Fastener Association's biggest fundraising event of the season. You can't miss it. Who wouldn't want to hit a golf ball with people like GH3, the president, Rich Cavoto, and our own Bob GQ Bear? On the 19th, we're going to have a Midwest Fastener Association mixer with free drinks. Great time to get out, just be social. Don't miss this event. Go to the Midwest Fastener Association website for more information and details. mwfa.net.
Hi, this is Joanne with Star Stainless in Woodville, Illinois. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
You know, Bri, I'm always fond of pointing out the shortcomings of technology because I have this anxiety about it taking over all of our lives. You know this.
Yes, I do know this. Now, I don't fear it the same way, incidentally.
So I took heart while I was typing up the notes for the episode today, and spell check does not recognize the word embrittlement. So really, what good is it, you know?
Really?
Yeah, I just say cancel the technocracy right now. Yeah.
So then it doesn't exist then. Which is what everyone would love to know.
Actually, come to think of it, I stumbled across another one. Even our transcription software, which puts these text versions of the podcast together for us, it does not understand the S in fastenersclearinghouse.com. Will not get it. Will not get it.
Yeah, I know. That and most of the rest of the world. So it's in very good company, okay?
Yeah. The S is for stop everything now. Oh, well, we're not going to stop everything. We're going to continue hurling along on our path to wherever the hell we're going. In this case, we're putting together a Fastener podcast. It's going to be great. It's episode 165, everybody. Welcome back. Mentioned that we'd take a closer look at the MWFA event coming up in August because, among other things, the Midwest Fastener Association is a great group of people, and that's our home association. Plus, I was not able to find the flyer during the opening, so we had to slide it to this segment.
Okay.
No technology to blame for that one, Bri.
No. Right.
So on August 16th, this is a full week of stuff, people, and they're calling it Fastener Week. Actually, it's Fastener Week. No vowels in that. Don't ask me. I didn't come up with it. The 16th is basic print reading, and then the next day is the 39th rendition of their tabletop show.
Mm-hmm.
This is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is, actually.
Noon to 4, It's happening at Belvedere Banquets. And then you got 2 hours to get changed into your tuxedo or your evening gown or whatever it is you're going to wear. Who knows these days? But the Black Tie 75th anniversary dinner is happening that night. When was the last time you had a tux on, Bri?
Yes. Actually, for my sister's 50th birthday in Australia, in Sydney. So it's sort of a while since I've worn one. I guess the bigger question is, can I still fit in it?
Yeah, good point. A lot of people are talking about their COVID pounds. So this is probably going to be a challenge for a lot of people. But come what may, this is going to be a fantastic evening, I'm thinking, and we'll be there. Be really great to see some of the outfits that people like GQ and GH3 and Matt DeLauder and Cavoto, really good-looking group out there in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine what GH3 does to how he can reinterpret black tie. Can't imagine there isn't some wild splash of colour there.
Some Argyle incorporated there.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere. Maybe the cummerbund. Maybe you could do it that way.
Of course, all week, the backdrop to this thing is the Fastener Training Week will be happening. So there will be a whole new crop of certified fastener specialists. And dare I mention that just ahead of it, not officially sanctioned by the MWFA for insurance reasons, so we're told, a whole group of intrepid fastener pros will be making their way across a 5K Tough Mudder obstacle course in Rockford. We've been talking about that quite a bit on the podcast, and we'll do one more check-in with the training for that event next episode.
Right.
But it's happening in connection with this Fastener Week. So who knows? Depending on how that goes, we may or may not be a few people short, See what happens.
Maybe we should get Jake to give us the lowdown on how things are going.
Don't worry. We'll have that covered.
Okay.
We've got to set it up right, though. I agree with you. So get out to mwfa.net. They have it splashed across the homepage. Get with Nancy. She'll get you all set up for this. Some very nice sponsorship and advertising opportunities as well. And people, you will stand out if your name's connected to this. We're going to toggle over to our conversation with Paul Musgrove of EFC International here in a moment. We'll be talking a little bit about barbecue before we get down to fasteners. And on that subject, Bri, I was scanning through the LinkedIn headlines the other day, and I noticed that apparently there's a group from Worth that's put a barbecue team together. Could this be correct? It's called Nuts and Butts.
Really?
Sounds pretty appropriate. I'm going to have to ask Holly or Becky for somebody to fill us in on that a little more, but I guess they're out of the Kansas City area, and isn't that appropriate?
Yeah, right.
Maybe Paul knows them. Too bad I didn't see this till after we recorded. Geez, the idea for upcoming segments, it just seems to never run out. Too bad more of them aren't more fastener related, huh?
Why would we suddenly want that? Well, that's why the predominantly bit comes in.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Well, case in point, we have got this conversation with Paul right now, and let's play that.
Yep.
It's camping season. Of course, to me and a lot of other people, that means there's a lot of barbecuing going to be going on. So in the midst of all the supply chain chaos, there will be some barbecuing. And I thought a great way to delve into both of these topics, possibly emphasizing the barbecue, not sure, thought I'd invite Paul Musgrove onto the podcast. He's Industrial and Distribution Sales Manager over at EFC International. Paul, thanks for jumping on.
Absolutely. It's nice to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
We've got a lot of reasons to get distracted with barbecue this season, don't we?
Absolutely.
all these problems, all these hair-raising issues going on with supply.
That is true. And it's just always delicious. So it's a great diversion from the daily grind.
Yep. Well, you've been in the fastener game for a long time. I think you were telling me over 30 years, and you've seen it all. But some people who've talked to you at the shows and on the road and so forth might not be aware of the fact that you were a longtime competitive barbecue guy, too. Isn't that true?
That is true. I had a team that I was a member of back in the early to mid 2000s that We had some pretty good success. Regionally, I would say we probably traveled 4 or 5 states doing 15 or so competitions from spring through fall.
And what was the team name?
BS Smokers. And that was a father and son-in-law were Bill and Steve, but we had a lot of fun with the BS name. Outside of that, that was the impetus for the name, was Bill and Steve, but it was called BS Smokers.
Right on, yeah. And what was that, around the Kansas City area? I mean, that's a bona fide mecca for barbecue.
Yes, we did. We competed in Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, and Oklahoma primarily.
So as Fully Threaded listeners delve into the pit this summer, in your opinion, being a seasoned professional, what separates most amateurs from the guys on the competitive circuit?
Well, I would say preparation is probably key. I would like to think that a good pit master or barbecue aficionado even can make good barbecue on about any type of smoker. As you are aware, I'm sure there are several different types of smokers, from gravity fed to the wood pellets to true offsets, drum smokers, etc. But I really think the technique and the timing of the barbecue is very crucial. And that is what is perfected by the best in the world. And, a lot of people want to talk about cooking barbecue to a particular time. I get these questions all the time. Hey, how long does it take me to smoke a brisket? Well, how many variables are in that, Eric? There's your atmospheric conditions. Is it cool? Is it hot? Is it humid? Dry? The cut of meat can be completely different, even out of the same package. We've seen that in pork butts or shoulders, where you get 2 in a package and they can cook up completely different. And, one can be done 2 hours prior to the other one. And I'm a very big advocate of cooking to temperature, internal temperature. And I think you really have a great chance of a great product, be it, your backyard barbecue person or a competitive professional.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking as, I guess, an experienced amateur, I never did any competitive. Of course, brisket is widely regarded as the easiest to screw up cut. When you make it big. But man, when you ruin it, it's not good. And temperature is critical. For me, through trial and error, once you get that point to 203, boom, put it in the box, baby. What do you think of that?
I agree. Anything above 200 is definitely a sweet spot. So you can hear people from 199 to 205. I've even heard some people up to 210 on their internal temperature on a brisket. But I like the 202, 203 number. And as you're, I think, aware, we've discussed a little bit, the resting period is also very crucial to redistribute the moisture throughout the whole brisket.
Yeah, so talk about that. I think that's one of the big secrets that the pros know that a lot of amateurs don't. When you first discover the importance of resting meat after you initially cook it, it changes your whole game. So what's your theory on that?
What we do is we'll take boiling water and put it in a large cooler to warm that cooler up, and then dump that water out. It's already pre-warmed. You fill it with towels or blankets. Your brisket will be wrapped in foil. Set that in there. Forget about it for at least a couple of hours, and you can go up 4 to 6 hours. I've even seen 8, when catering a little bit, and it's still piping hot when you unwrap it. And it'll be second to none as far as the moisture and the tenderness of that brisket. That's the method I've always used for brisket, and had some pretty nice success.
So if you take it off at 203 and you let it rest 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, when you open the slice, what's your temp at that point?
It's probably not much below 200. Could be down to 195 potentially. It'll still make your hands uncomfortable if you're not wearing gloves, as I'm sure you've experienced with both brisket and or pork butts. Especially if you're pulling the pork, it can be painful at times.
I think Jake Davis is well aware of that right now. If you listen to last episode, everybody. Well, I think you're making everybody hungry. I hope most of our listeners are hearing this after lunch.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned Jake's name. He's a very good friend of mine, and I know he's a regular contributor to your podcast. And he lives just down the street, and we've known each other for over 10 years now. And a little known trivia fact, Jake and I actually coached a girls softball team together for a season, and really enjoyed that.
Is that right? Hometown guy. Yeah, I didn't put that together. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we can walk to each other's homes. Him probably better than I, but he lives just less than a mile from my house. So it's not. It has happened where I can just leave some fastener samples in his mailbox or meet him on his porch, enjoy an adult beverage, and go on about our evenings.
Oh, that's beautiful. He could probably smell the aromas wafting from your pit in the backyard too, if he really set out to, huh?
He possibly could, but he's never come knocking on the door.
All right. Well, I'm sure he's listening, so you never know. Well, sounds like you're very experienced with brisket, with pork butts. I'm sure ribs are also in your wheelhouse too, though, right? I mean, what do you consider your specialty, or do you have one? Are you just a generalist, or have you zeroed in on one cut?
Well, you can't intentionally zero in on one cut. You need 4 different meats in the competition world, and those are brisket, pork butt, pork ribs, and chicken. And for me, the biggest struggle is probably the chicken. And it has transformed immensely since I was a competitive cook. And I don't know that I could be real successful at cooking competition level chicken at this time. But we did okay. You definitely need to score fairly high in all 4 categories to win a grand championship. And sometimes you can do great in 3 and really throw a clinker in on a fourth meet, and that can make it difficult. And you'll watch your fortunes fade fast at the end of the awards ceremony if you know you pulled a under the halfway point in a score for any one of those 4 meets.
Yeah, the closest I've come to experiencing that, I guess, is on the show Barbecue Pitmasters. I don't even know if that's still on anymore, but Myron Mixon and Tuffy and their group of rotating pros, they would always highlight all of these competitions. Have you ever seen that? Is it kind of true to life?
Yeah, it is. Of course, that's made a little bit for TV, but I don't know if you've seen Big Mo Cason. He's on a lot of those shows. Myron, Tuffy, Stump.
Did you ever see any of those guys out there at the competitions?
Absolutely. Especially the larger ones. I've never done the Memphis in May. To me, the whole hog competition that Myron Mixon makes his career on is very intimidating. That's a very large animal to barbecue. I guess I prefer the parts, but we have done the American Royal in Kansas City, which is probably one of the 2 with Memphis in May. There's also a Jack Daniels invitation that is very highly competitive. And the American Royal has 2 classes. They have an open, which anyone with a smoker can enter. And then they have an invitational, which you win a grand champion or a state championship, etc. And you're invited to the invitational. The open will bring in anywhere from 400 to 600 teams to Kansas City to compete.
Wow.
It's held in a huge parking lot. Lately, it's been Arrowhead Stadium, home of the Kansas City Chiefs, and or at the Kansas Speedway. When I was competing, it was held at a Kemper Arena, which is an older arena now that was actually home to the American Royal, which ran in conjunction with a livestock show, horse shows, etc. So that is probably our claim to fame. My best finish would be 4th place overall with my team, and we were beat by 3 highly regarded pros. But getting 4th place, and we took home a couple of nice checks for individual category wins. But 4 out of 400 teams it was that year. We were very excited. We were pretty much an amateur team compared to a lot of these guys that would show up in RVs pulling huge pits and mobile kitchens, etc. And I think you've seen that on the Pitmaster shows.
Oh, yeah.
There's guys, Johnny Trigg, He would come in as a retired guy pulling his smoker and a 40-foot coach. And I will say, I'm sure his preparation was much easier in that air-conditioned coach with no eyes on you compared to us under a 10 by 20 canopy tent from Sam's Club and a bunch of plastic folding tables.
Right. I get the idea. It's perfect when a bunch of hackers rolls in and tumbles down a lot of the flashy guys. But hey, that's barbecue. That's the way it is. And I'm sure it was a great party too. I don't know. I'm just a simple man with a few pits by the side of a pond, and I have fun doing it. Never done a competition. Maybe I'll make it out to Kansas City if you or Jake ever extend the invitation someday. Who knows?
Absolutely. We can make you feel ill on barbecue. There's plenty of options.
I seriously doubt that, but I'd like to give you the chance, Paul.
Sounds good.
Well, I guess eventually all conversations on this particular podcast lead back to fasteners, and you're a guy who certainly has a lot of knowledge in that department. Now, EFC International, of course, you're a leading distributor of engineered fasteners and components, servicing global automotive, industrial distribution. You've been around for a long time. Most people know about EFC. With regard to the supply, and we haven't talked about the recent JBS threat to our cherished rib and brisket supply this summer, Paul. We'll stick to fasteners. What are you seeing in that department? And what are you seeing in the world of fasteners with regard to supply? Everybody's got an angle on this. What's yours?
Well, ours is, we're fully aware that there is a crisis and some chaos going on across the whole supply chain in the metals, plastics, transportation, etc. We're not immune to it either. I believe EFC has done a very good job of mitigating any of those risks for our customers. I am not aware of us having any line down situations at any of our manufacturers. As you're well aware, in our automotive sector, of course, the microchip shortage has become a factor for us. And in our automotive sector, we have seen a lot of plant shutdowns and closures for weeks to actually a couple of months. But we're starting to see some of that turn around just in the near recent past. So we have really done well at EFC, and our sales numbers are showing that. But it is not without a lot of work, a lot of collaboration, both internally and with our customers to make sure, sometimes we get down to hours of production time before we have to get another shipment of parts into a manufacturing facility, be it automotive, industrial, or even to our distribution customers to keep them supplying their OEM customers as well.
Now, our FDI respondents have indicated to us that their downstream customers overall did a poor job of planning. So there's a lot of panic buying going on, and you're heavily focused on automotive, as you indicated. And is that true in that area too? I mean, has that been your experience?
Oh, certainly. There's been some panic buying coming out of last year's crisis. We saw a lot of, at that time, PO deferrals, people wanting to cancel orders, etc. I think we did a great job with our customers in helping them through that. But then on the tail end and the backside of that come a whole lot of expedites and dropping in POs. And you add that in combination with extended manufacturing lead times that we're seeing across our industry. That is very much the challenge for us and everyone. And all the way to, as you said, trickles all the way down to the OEMs and their manufacturing. And we know that they're having issues with all types of supply, not just fasteners. We just try not to be the company that shuts down anyone over a 10-cent fastener. That's our goal in life, is to never have the fastener be the reason that an OEM has to send people home.
Absolutely. So strategic partnerships is the name of the game. And why should distributors think of EFC when they think strategic partnership?
That's our bread and butter. That's our market. We have very strong strategic partnerships with our manufacturing partners, most of them very long term. And that situates us in a great supply position. We are able to get capacity possibly when others can't. And that allows us to work primarily with our domestic manufacturing partners. And that has been a huge benefit to EFC through this logistics challenges for sure, as well as material shortages, knowing most of our parts are domestically manufactured by our premier strategic partners, including ITW and a variety of their brands, and A. Raymond. We are in a great distribution, sometimes sole distributor, oftentimes a very highly regarded master distributor for our partners. And that is where we tend to be able to supply our distribution customers the best. We do not generally dabble in the commodity products that every distributor has factories for, et cetera. But with proprietary and highly engineered fasteners, that is where we are able to serve our distribution customers.
So you must be buying in sufficient quantities to keep those partnerships really putting you in a position to serve your customers. I mean, that's really the secret of this strategy for you, isn't it?
And that has been our way into the market for years. Is we do a lot of transition work with our customers. They will 80-20 customers to us, both OE and distribution. So we often are able to go into an OE with pricing that they thought we could never beat due to them buying direct from a particular manufacturer. But we are buying millions, if not billions, of little clips and plastic parts, et cetera. So we generally have them in stock, and we have a pricing structure that allows us to be able to compete at the OE level with customers that traditionally had been buying direct. And then they get the benefits of distribution as well. And I kind of have a favorite saying in the fastener business, having worked both for distributors and manufacturers. Most manufacturers do not make very good distributors. And there is definitely a place in the market for distribution. And I believe that value prospect for OEs is readily apparent in the amount of fastener distributors out there and the amount of fasteners being supplied into extremely large OE customers via distribution.
Makes sense. Please speak to some of the other strategies that you see being implemented out there in the market to confront some of these supply pressures. What are companies offering to try and tide their longstanding loyal customers over where there are gaps in supply at the moment? How are people grappling with this?
Well, we are certainly seeing it every day, especially from our distribution customers, where we were maybe not in the A position for their supply chain, but we could be a B option for them. Unfortunately, right now, the supply is so tight that oftentimes we're not able to assist, but many times we have been able to offer substitutions, alternatives, et cetera, that we have in stock. But the biggest challenge right now is supply. And we are definitely seeing a lot of inquiries, quotes sent our way from customers that we've called on for years that really didn't have a need for EFC in their mind, that now are coming to us looking for products. And that is great. And I know we will turn some of those into long-term loyal customers. So Eric, we've been able to help a lot of our distribution customers out of jams where we may not have been their number one or even their number two supplier. And we have been able to help several customers, both OEs and distribution customers, on getting their supply using our wide breadth of products. We can use our engineering department to help recommend possible alternatives, substitutions, to allow our customers to keep their plants running, or our distribution customers to help keep their customers running. So that has been our experience at EFC.
Yeah, actually, we had Carmen Vertullo on the last episode, and he spoke extensively about using substitutions as a way of dealing with all of these shortages. And So I think you're right on the money there. And you were telling me before we turned the mics on, Paul, that EFC is very well known, of course, in the automotive world, but you're also pursuing a lot of industrial and general distribution opportunities these days as well. That's part of your growth strategy. So are there certain areas that you're really focusing on there?
Well, Eric, as we discussed, I am the industrial and distribution sales manager. So my responsibility is business development and sales management on anything that's non-automotive for EFC. So that is a very wide range of customers, from ag to heavy truck to white goods, and you can go on down the list, as well as our distribution customers. So my goal is to foster relationships with our distribution customers, new distribution customers, preach the gospel of EFC in our strategic partnerships, and have them come our way for especially these highly engineered and proprietary fasteners.
Right on. Well, I could say that we here at FCH Sourcing Network appreciate the long-time partnership EFC has had with us. We've always enjoyed working with Joyce, Matt, and yourself. Thanks a lot for that. And thanks for hopping on the podcast. Usually we talk to you more regularly at all the shows and events and so forth, so I haven't touched base with you in a while. I hope you'll be coming out to Cleveland for the social, and who knows, maybe we'll have an opportunity to dip some bones in some savory barbecue sauce one of these days this summer, Paul.
Absolutely. That would be great. I have a manufacturer's rep, Jackie Ventura, in Ohio, and she does a great job for EFC and is a valued member of our team. And it's always great to spend time with her, visit with some of the customers, and attend the social. So I look forward to seeing you out there, and we will be at all of the major shows. We have our reservations set at Vegas and then Cleveland for the Fastener Fair. So very much look forward to seeing our customers and meeting new customers and friends, and renewing long-term relationships that we've had to skip for the last year and a half or more.
Yeah, that part's been a drag, but if you're like me, the silver lining there was a lot more time to stand around the pit and think about life.
Absolutely. There's nothing better than rolling smoke and having a cold drink of your choice in your hand, and how grown adults can just sit there and look at the outside of a box, drooling over what's going to come out of it in several hours. It's a great feeling.
Oh, I love it. Well, thanks for sharing your insights, Paul Musgrove. You're with EFC International. Folks, you can get in touch with Paul or learn more about EFC at efc-intl.com. That's EFC International. Thanks for being here, Paul. See you at the social.
Absolutely. And Eric, thanks for the invitation, and I hope we can do it again.
Hey, folks, it's Fully Threaded.
Your tools, first and foremost, must be reliable, no matter what line of work you're in. They should perform consistently and be intended to make the job easier for the consumer. Ergonomically designed for reduced fatigue on the body and longer use on the job site. The Gerbil riveting tool family provides this. Whether you choose from our cordless battery, manual, or pneumatic hydraulic tool options, all our tools provide the optimum power and reliability needed for fatigue-free work. Our most important attribute is the assurance that our tools are reliable and provide a solid level of craftsmanship. Quality, the first time.
Global Fasteners, globalfasteners.com.
Regardless of the required size, materials, or finish, Eurolink has the European resources to meet your hard-to-find metric fastener demands. How do we do it? Eurolink has access to more than 100,000 quality metric parts. With daily air freight shipments and monthly sea freight shipments, we have the ability to solve your toughest metric fastener supply issues. Just think of us as your heavy metal rock stars. To learn more about how we can rock your fastener world, just visit us at eurolinkfss.com.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. BuckeyeFasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
Coming to you live from a much larger desk drawer, this is Jake Davis with BTM Manufacturing, and you are listening to my friends Brian and Eric on Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you, shadowboxing the apocalypse.
Looking for diversions.
Which we need now more than ever. With all the weirdness, we can certainly tell that diversions are needed simply by looking at FCH source finder inquiries coming through, folks. A lot of you know that at fastenersclearinghouse.com, you're looking for a part and you can't find it listed. You can create a broadcast RFQ, which we call a source finder. And when those things start flying through the network at the levels that they have been lately, Bri, we know that there's a lot of stuff missing in the supply chain. And that's exactly what's happening right now.
That's true. And it's also true that there's whole lots of things. If you look at statistics by month, there's all sorts of interesting things happening relative to FCH, Fasteners Clearinghouse. We notice a distinct peak in searches by phone, of all things, which we've always sort of made jokes about in the past. But if Google, of course, convinces us we have to be worried about it, but it's really not that many. But over the last few weeks, the number of searches by people using phones has gone up, I don't know, probably 8 or 9-fold, which is sort of a weird stat.
That is interesting. We could talk about that for quite a while. We're shooting at a moving target on that one.
Yeah.
A lot of things going on, but interesting nevertheless. FCH Sourcing Network, most of you know that's our main gig around here. But this is Fully Threaded Radio. Thanks for listening, everybody. It's the news segment. Mike McNulty will be coming up with headlines and the FDI report. That's sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics. And of course, the title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast, Brighton Best International, and Go Bell Fasteners. A couple of items before we get to Mike, though, Bri. Received a rather dramatic sounding email from Chris over at Scanwell. Many of you know that he puts out a monthly newsletter. Now, this is a supplemental urgent alert regarding, guess what? Rate increases, of course. Just read a little bit of this to you. Starts out, good afternoon. Today we were notified that the carriers intend to pass along a massive general rate increase, otherwise known as a GRI, and peak seasonal surcharge beginning June 15th. So that was just a couple days back if this kicked in. While most carriers are in agreement of imposing such charges, the amount of increase does vary slightly from carrier to carrier. One example, the carrier OOCL is implementing a total amount of $5,000 per 40-foot container. Another is requesting $5,500 per container. So rest assured, all carriers are going to fall within the same general area with regard to their increases. Point is, everybody, importing's becoming more expensive. Scanwell just giving you the heads up. Nothing they can do about it. This is the world we live in right now.
Yep.
One more. This was an email I got from Buckeye Fasteners. George was on the podcast last episode, and he shot this up. Very unusual. Has to do with a warning about wing nut products. Well, wing screws, too, for that matter, not just nuts. Buckeye handles them both.
Okay, I'm waiting with bated breath for this one. I mean, I guess I didn't see this alert.
They want us to know that they're notifying of possible shortages in wing products due to constraints in the supply chain based on predicted excessive hurricane activity, apparently. Now, they're citing the World Meteorological Organization, and they're suggesting that distributors should place orders in advance of the peak and end users should secure materials as soon as possible because they're suggesting that wing products are heavily used to protect windows and other structures from damage during hurricanes. So very unusual email.
Wow, okay.
There you have it. Call Buckeye Fasteners today. Get more details.
Whoa, I hadn't really connected all those dots together, I have to say.
Have to call Javier. He's operating down there in the hurricane belt. Hope you're doing all right, Javier. You just rebuilt from the last one. Make sure you call Buckeye, okay, buddy?
All right.
Wow. Pays to watch the weather carefully when you're in the fastener business. Actually, pays to watch the weather when you're in the fastener podcasting business, too. I point that out because as we play Marc Strandquist, who is Mike McNulty's guest on the Fastener News Report, right towards the beginning, there's kind of a cloudburst that happens behind the scenes. And if it had gone on forever, I would have probably cut it, but it was just at the beginning, so don't worry, folks. I'm pretty sure Mark stayed dry during that whole thing, but man, that initial thunderclap sounded pretty wicked.
Wow. We could only wish for thunderstorms here. It's pretty dry.
Spoken like a man who has a good supply of wing products. Well, we're going to turn it over to McNulty now. And, you know, how could you not like a guy who actually invites you to send him complaints?
Yeah, right.
As he does at the end of each of his reports. But if you've got anything to complain about, I don't know what that might be. He always does such a great job. So, with news about screws you can use, here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. It has surely been a busy month, and nearly 2/3 of the United States of America have zero COVID restrictions. The cause for Anthony Fauci's canonization is on hold. Gain-of-function research is now a household phrase. A self-described nonprofit newsroom of, quote, dedicated journalists published private citizen data that was illegally released by the IRS. Monthly inflation growth in the USA hit a 13-year high. Nigeria banned Twitter. The Keystone XL pipeline project was terminated, and the CEO and CFO of Lordstown Motors resigned after saying they don't think they have enough money to start electric truck production in the fall. But I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, Marc Strandquist, CEO of Optimas Solutions, joins us to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on the automotive fastener market, as well as newsmaker headlines from Richie Lou Hardware, MSC, Martin Supply, Optimas Solutions, Gobel Fasteners, Solution Industries, Century Fasteners, AIM Testing Laboratory, and several associations and fastener events. On the back page report, we're going to talk about travel plans. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
There's a reason Volt Industrial Plastics is an industry leader in plastic clip, clamp, and custom fastener manufacturing. With over 100 million parts in stock that can be shipped the same day, Volt has some of the fastest lead times in the industry. Volt can do color. We have the capability of molding over 120 different materials and can color match for specific applications. You need it? We can build it. At Volt, we have state-of-the-art technology to build prototypes to customer specs. And although some companies provide similar products, we offer customer service that's second to none, setting us apart from our competition. And now available, Volt's new light-duty cable clamps. With maximum diameters ranging from 3/16 to a ½ inch, these clamps are ideal for hard-to-reach spaces, electronics, and finish work. They prevent corrosion with metal tubing, and with plastic tubing, they won't bind or warp, preventing leaks while maintaining the flow of liquids. Volt Industrial Plastics, the finest, fastest plastic fasteners in the world. Visit us at voltplastics.com.
Parker Fasteners is your premier cold heading manufacturer, forging the future with precision and quality as our top priority. When you think of domestically produced sockets and tamper-proof screws from alloy and stainless, including A286, think Parker Fasteners. Forge the future with Parker Fasteners. Visit Parker Fasteners online today at parkerfasteners.com.
Solution Man, Ken.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
SOLUTION, SOLUTION. Solution Industry. We are solution.
Mike McNulty.
The seasonally adjusted Fastener Distributor Index for May 2021 came in at 61.8, a nice increase over the previous result of 58.7 in April, and the third time it has eclipsed 60 in 2021. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on these results, we talked to Marc Strandquist, CEO of Optimas Solutions. Hi, Marc. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Good afternoon. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. So we're on a good roll. And what do you think about the latest FDI results?
Yeah, I think they're quite accurate. We're seeing quite the boom in the economy. The problem is, as pointed out in the report, lead times are going out. We're seeing all sorts of issues, with supplier deliveries being late. We're seeing inflation and, freight costs have doubled or tripled depending on where you're going. And then, then there's always can you find a container if you're bringing something in from overseas?
Right.
The ability to find a container. So these are all truisms on what's occurring right now and causing everybody problems, because what should be a time that we all make money because everything's so busy, it's challenging. Expenses are up and costs are up. And I'm sure many people aren't making the kind of money that they'd like to make with the effort that's going on right now and trying to get product out the door and trying to keep customer satisfaction at high levels has become extremely difficult.
Yeah, it seems like it's been the same thing that we talk about the last few months of not being able to meet the demand. It could be a lot better, and I guess we'll get into that a little bit more in some of the commentary in that. But you're right on about that. Let's get some of the other numbers out of the way. The sales and customer inventories, as well as employment numbers, increased a bit versus last month, while the rest were fairly stable or down slightly. What are you guys seeing or hearing on those things, inventories? And I mean, everybody, a lot of people recorded really good sales, but what about inventory and employment?
Yeah, those are two important topics today. In my 35 years, I've never seen this combination of events. Finding labor is very hard. We have locations all over the globe, but in particular here in North America, because of I don't know what the right word is, the overly aggressive unemployment package that's out there.
Pampering package, maybe.
It's hurting. It hurts because as noble as it sounds that we're doing something like that, the fact is people are pretty smart. And if they can sit on their couch and collect the same amount of money, and not do anything, they are. And we have open requisitions all over the place. And some of these jobs that we're offering, like at our manufacturing plant in Chicago, I mean, they're good paying jobs, over $20 an hour. And for a skilled cold header, it could be as high as $30 an hour. And we're so busy. People are getting tons of overtime. And even basic jobs like sorting, are open. And so finding that labor is tough. And I'm pleased to see that in some states, they're starting to eliminate this federal subsidy to kind of force people to get back to work and make that where that's not a viable choice for someone to stay home. So labor for sure is an issue out there and a challenge. And retaining people, post-COVID, I think has changed people's mindsets. And we're seeing that, people enjoy working from home, and people are, I think I saw a study the other day that they claim that 40% of the workforce is open to moving to a different position and to do something else. So that's one of the key elements for all those that are listening on the line is, we really have to figure out a retention policy to keep people engaged and happy and stay within the culture that we have. And it's a challenge.
Yeah, it's definitely a market for job seekers like it is market for selling your house right now. It seems like that's another wild category. But, you hear lots of anecdotes about, just like you're talking about, the labor situation. I know I have a relative who works in distribution of like auto parts for car racing and that. And they, they'll get like 80 people sign up for job interviews or things like that, and only a quarter of them will show up. And then people will take a signing bonus, and then they don't come back. So it's really a difficult situation. And I think your point is well taken about the post-COVID. People are like, well, I want a little bit better quality of work, so they're able to pick and choose what they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's unheard of, right? I mean, again, in my time in the industry, when you see advertisements for warehouse workers and there's a starting bonus of $1,500 or $2,000, I mean, that's just, right. It's never been. And how do you compete sometimes with that and those challenges? It's very difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. So hopefully these things abate, but I've heard people saying that's not gonna change much. And we have the unintended consequences of trying to help people out in a difficult situation. But once it's not difficult anymore, you have to stop. You have these projects or these programs that have bad consequences that people didn't think of. So hopefully some of that changes down the road.
Well, like I said, some of the states are starting to do that and enforce the issue. So hopefully that becomes nationwide.
Yeah. I think that's going to happen, especially in places that have, relax the restrictions from the coronavirus and that. Like here in Ohio, those have all been eliminated. So I think things are going to go in the right direction there. So speaking of down the road, the forward-looking indicator, also known as the FLI, was basically the same at a robust 76.0, the fourth straight month being above 70 and the 12th straight month of positive outlook. So people are really expecting things to continue to be strong for the rest of the year. Is that what, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd say a vast majority of our customers are trying to let us know that they think it's going to be strong all the way through the holidays, easy, and hopefully go into next year somewhat. Right now, the issue at hand is these supply chain issues with things like computer chips. We have our inventory finally, and we're ready to go. And we have several major customers that, because they can't get chips, are not, open. We had one major customer of ours on the international front, that basically shut down for 2 months because they couldn't get computer chips and some other components. And we also have several domestically that missed their build rates because they couldn't get chips. So that's the hard part to try and do a sales forecast is, when you walk in on a Monday morning and you've just been notified they're going to be down for 4 days, that hurts your sales forecasting and the ability right. to run the business.
Yeah, that chip shortage is definitely a problem. And when I drive around town, I drive by car lots and I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of empty spaces in there. And it's just not a good situation. Then it all trickles down to the suppliers like yourselves who are supplying the fasteners.
Well, I think to that point, when you ask about how, I think things are going to be strong on the OEM level, but I think they're superheated at our level. And what do I mean by that? I think there's a lot of false demand out there because everybody's doing the same thing. They're all panicked and they're overbuying. They're saying, the only way I can protect my customer is to, build up my inventory. And what happens then, of course, is someone only needs 50,000 pieces of something, but they decide to protect their customer and they order 100. And then so, that burns up the labor at the supplier, that burns up steel. Steel all of a sudden starts to become overconsumed. I still think that the units that the OEM is making is going to be there. I don't think that is false demand. But I certainly think at the tier level, as everybody scrambles through this nightmare of, last time we ordered a part, it was 8 weeks, and all of a sudden it's 16, and we didn't have enough inventory. And so it burns up all the safety stock, and it causes premium freight and gap buys. I would imagine that on this audience, 100% of the people are dealing with gap buys. And then that hurts your bottom line. So where you have this, 10, 20, 25% increase in sales, depending on your market, even more, and you should be coining money. The problem is if you've had to buy a lot of gap buys, or if you're using premium freight to get it from one point to another, your margins are gone. And so all of a sudden you're not making any kind of money that you would think. And and I'm sure everybody on the broadcast that's listening is in the same boat. We have wonderful employees. We have people that are stay until 10 o'clock at night trying to make sure the customer gets their parts, and goods are delivered to the warehouse, and immediately we get them and we try and get them to the customer, and people are killing themselves. So the stress level is world class. Where people were used to a good normal every once in a while expedite type of situation, but now it's like everything is an expedite, and it causes enormous amount of pressure on the inside sales types and the buyers, as they're trying to get stuff in. And then kind of the coup de grace to the process is not only is it not 8 weeks anymore, it's 16. And oh, by the way, here's your price increase. And so, not only are we not getting the product on time, we're seeing cost increases in this process. So, going back to how I started, I think there's a lot of false demand. And then once that peters out, we'll see things all of a sudden like a rubber band snap back to normal. But I don't know when that's going to happen. It's because, the OEMs are still consuming our products left and right.
Yeah, it's opposite of the just-in-time delivery. It's like just-in-case delivery. So we order extra stuff, and everybody does that, and it overwhelms the market.
Yep.
When you say that leveling off or coming out, do you have any guess on when that'll happen?
Not really. I don't think anybody could have guessed where we're at today. I think when we see, steel start to pick up and in terms of capacity, that will help the market. One thing that could be a huge change is if the federal government decides to pull the tariffs off of Chinese steel, then all of a sudden, I think we'll see some steel pricing that's going to drop. I know that the Chinese government is really controlling their steel mills, and that recently they've made some real push to keep prices down and not cause kind of a superheated inflation, because that's not good for them either. As they 20 years ago, they exported so much and didn't consume as much. Well, nowadays, internal to China, they consume a lot of products now as their economy grows and they do more and more things. So they're nervous about this whole process as well. And so that's a game changer if that happens. This whole tariff policies that we have, still waiting for that shoe to drop in terms of what changes that the new administration might make, and then how would that impact us, and how that manifests itself within the economy in terms of cheaper products or at least more capacity.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned inflation too. It seems the price of everything's going up, not just steel, but wood for pallets and containers and copper. I mean, there's not a lot of copper fasteners, but just things just going haywire on prices. Let's move on to the 6-month outlook. I want to give those numbers. We had holding steady at 68% of the respondents expecting better conditions by the time December rolls around, with 27% expecting it to be the same and just 5% expecting worse conditions. So that kind of like mirrors in what the FLI is saying, that it should be pretty good through the rest of the year. Hopefully, if these other issues straighten themselves out, it could be super good. But time will tell on that. Let's put some of the commentary out there that we did touch on some of this already, but respondents continue to see more demand than they can service given the extended lead times, freight challenges, material and staffing shortages. One respondent said distributors are starting to run out of critical stock. Pricing continues to rise. Domestic lead times continue to rise. New orders continue to be amazingly higher than last year with no sign of slowing. Another commentary was continued strain in the supply chain and raw materials are driving cost pressures. And then the transit market remains turbulent. Demand remains high. And then we had another comment here. Deliveries delayed from Taiwan and other U.S. ports and intermodals. Shortages everywhere, followed by inflation across the board. And then the last comment is kind of ties into some of the fully threaded radio people. It says, master distributors are really slow on shipments and inventory to distributors. And when they do have inventory, it could be coming from anywhere in the country. Lead times are out of this world. Might as well just go fishing. So I know we have a lot of fishing people out here on the listening to the podcast, but could come to that.
Yeah. That or golf, one or the other.
Right. It's like, well, yeah, you feel bad for, these people who are ready to record really good sales numbers, and then they have to start turning them away.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This is a never before seen during my time, 35 years. And And I don't think anybody's ever managed their way through this particular set of circumstances. So it's new for everybody. It doesn't matter if you run a small company or a big company. We all have these challenges, and we're all on equal footing as we try and anticipate and make all the right moves, and
any advice for the listeners on what to do? Come up with new solutions?
Well, one, take care of your people, because we're going to need our people, and we need to treat them right and do the best we can with that. They're under a lot of stress. The people that actually roll up their sleeves and do the work, as opposed to the talking heads like me, the executive types. I learned a long time ago, I have a deep respect for those people that are out there sweating and hauling the boxes around or setting up machines. And so I'm grateful for their efforts. And that would be my one piece of advice for everybody, is take care of your people as best you can.
Well, that's good advice. You don't want them picking up a signing bonus or two and going to do a lower stress 40-hour-a-week job.
That's right.
Okay, there's another comment. There was another comment in the report, and listeners know, and participants in the survey know, that you get a nice PDF copy of all the analysis from Baird. And there was a note in there that caught my attention. It said the FCH sourcing network traffic and inquiry volume spiked during the month of May. Especially strong was the number and dollar value of FCH SourceFinder inquiries, which are broadcast RFQs shared among network members. The higher than usual number of distributors searching to fill inventory gaps seems consistent with the supply concerns. So it's everybody's hearing the same thing, and so we're all in the same boat. And maybe the best thing is, like you said, take care of your people and weather the storm. So Optimas, as always, seems to be in the news. What is going on? What is new at Optimas Solutions that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Well, we one element of our fairly unique business model. As you know, we're a combination manufacturing and distribution, and so both our manufacturing in Chicago, and then we have a manufacturing plant in England. We've been spending money on new equipment and getting our capacity and capability increased. Buying 4-die machines, 5-die machines, long stroke, etc. And we're being rewarded in the marketplace. We're incredibly busy. Chicago is just, every month it seems like we have record production and record sales. And so having that within our business model has been huge, and being able to react. So we were smart last year. In October, we bought a whole bunch of extra raw material to get ready for some new business and some projections that we were starting to see from our customers. And thank goodness we did that. And it's really allowed us the ability to react quickly, where we don't have 16-week lead times in some areas. We're able to make it happen. But yeah, we got a new Formax that we had purchased that is being set up right now. Formax, National Formax 54 medium stroke. We had already had 2 56 Formaxes and 2 36s, and then we bought a Chunsu, nice 4-die machine, and it's nice. They're instantly full, and both of them, there's not a slow ramp up. We're so busy that we were able to tool them up and get them running, and they're just going full tilt. And Barton, which is our facility in England, has 2 new Nedtroff bolt makers.
Yeah, so people in the manufacturing world will recognize those names, and those are good pieces of machinery, and that's what you need those cold header operators for, right?
That's right. That's right. So things are going pretty good with us. We're seeing some good inquiries, new customers, all the good things you like to see. As I think more and more people are thinking about reshoring, as they look at the risk, and plus you got political risk with China, not just supply chain risk of the long time it takes to get a container and to get the parts here. But I think there's some political risk and not knowing exactly how everything's going to react. And then Taiwan has got their issues with COVID, and they have labor problems right now. Usually they import workers from throughout Southeast Asia, and they live in dormitories and they do a lot of work there. But with the COVID, they're not able to do that. That's caused an enormous amount of stress and steel availability. So a whole combination of things are occurring that I think, as I talk to people that are manufacturers, I have a lot of good friends in the industry, and I have people that typically were happy with a 50,000 piece, 75,000 piece order, and now they're getting like 10 million pieces to run because those people are going to them versus import. That typically would have been an import part, and now it's being made domestically. So I think this negative situation we're in is going to be very fruitful for the manufacturers, for them to stay relevant and competitive. And I think it's terribly important that they do that. And so for us, that's kind of the piece of good news of what's going on, along with the normal growth things that we've got going on. That I'm really pleased and proud of the team and what we're doing.
Yeah, we showed some foresight in getting capacity and material in advance of the surge. So that was good strategy.
Yeah. Right now it's looking great.
And also I saw a headline that you guys on the distribution side are you opened a new distribution center in Knoxville.
That's correct. Yeah, we had a new customer, and we were kind of like surrounding it, but we didn't have local support for them. So we did put one in there. And before that, we had put one in St. Louis. And that's just another point that I'm proud of what we're doing, because Optimas for years, as most of the people that are listening know, was going backwards. It would be, shut down a branch, lose the customers, cut a bunch of people. Shut down a branch, lose the customers, cut a bunch of people. And there was always this negative spiral. And that's quite the opposite now. We're hiring and we're adding products and services and locations and seeing the results of those. We planted a lot of, I had an old boss that once said, we're planting the seed corn of the future, to keep us and have a real good sustainable business model for a long time to come and be able to compete in a variety of different ways. And so we've been very busy. We took advantage of this nasty COVID, and instead of just sitting around not doing anything, we've implemented ERP systems and all sorts of new technology, added products to what we're doing and services and added equipment to the manufacturing plant. So, just kind of hunkered down and just basic Fastener C item world stuff, nothing fancy. I'm just a simple fella from Illinois, Midwestern guy. And we're just doing what I call blocking and tackling in the fastener industry and working on our customers and make sure they're happy and the satisfaction is there. And then trying to do the same with our employees, with our culture.
Well, I appreciate the football reference. As a fan of football, that's a good reference. And you guys sound like you're really doing the right things. And you mentioned, as opposed to trying to cut things out and cut costs and save money on an accounting ledger, you're investing in people and equipment and facilities and building relationships and being ready to do a good job. So keep up the good work.
I thank you.
All right, welcome. Now, also, I wanted to mention that it's been, according to my records, it's been about a year since you were on the podcast on the Fastener News Report, and I wanted to. In that time, there was an article in the December 2020, January 2021 issue of Fastener Technology International. The traveling salesman interviewed Marc Strandquist, and there's some good details on his background and also as well as what they're doing at Optimas Solutions now and in the future. So if you turn to page 100 and 101 of the December-January issue in the archives at fastenertech.com, you can see the details of that interview as well as a couple nice pictures of Marc. Thanks again for joining us again and bringing your insight to the Fastener News Report on the FDI as well as the fastener industry and what's going on at Optimas.
You're very welcome, Mike. Thank you.
That was Marc Strandquist. He's the CEO of Optimas Solutions. The FDI number for May was 61.8 versus 58.7 in April of 2021. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. Technavio has just released a new report titled The Automotive Fasteners Market by Application and Geography, Forecast and Analysis 2021 to 2025. According to the report, automotive fasteners market is set to grow by $6 billion over the next 5 years, progressing at a robust annual growth rate of over 6%. The new report offers an up-to-date analysis regarding the current market scenario, the latest trends and drivers, and the overall market environment. The report segments the automotive fasteners market by application and geography, as well as by market opportunities. Companies mentioned in the report include Bolton, EJOT, ITW, K-Max, Nedschroff, Norm Fasteners, Penn Engineering, Rocknell Fastener, Varvid SPA, and Sundaram Fasteners. More than half of the growth is expected to take place in the Asia-Pacific region. You can download a free sample of the Automotive Fasteners Report at technavio.com. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In acquisition, expansion, and contract news, Richelieu Hardware has acquired U-Scan Industrial Fasteners. Boomax has been chosen to supply high-strength and corrosion-resistant fasteners to Skanska for an infrastructure project in Sweden. MSC Industrial Supply Company has acquired majority interest in the William F. Hearst Company. Bolton has restarted construction of a new facility in Poland. Martin Supply, a subsidiary of Martin Inc., has acquired Parker Industrial Safety. Optimas Solutions has opened a regional distribution center in Knoxville, Tennessee. Gobel Fasteners has named Austin Hardware and Supply as an authorized distributor in 9 USA states. And ABC US is building a new packaging facility for fasteners in Pioneer, Ohio. In personnel news, Century Fasteners has hired Charles J. Sally as regional sales manager, and Doncaster's Group has named Helen Barrett Haig as general counsel and chief risk officer. In event news, Solution Industries, AIM Testing Laboratory, and the North Coast Fastener Association, also known as the NCFA, are teaming up for an open house, workshop, and distributor social on July 8th in Strongsville, Ohio. The Fastener Training Institute is working with the IFI and the MWFA to stage Fastener Training Week in Chicago in August. STAFTA's 45th Annual Convention and Trade Show in Orlando, Florida, leads off with 4 workshops this October. ASTM International is resuming in-person committee meetings in October, and the International Fastener Expo, also known as IFE, is looking for industry experts to speak at the 2021 show in Las Vegas this September. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International magazine and the Fastener News Report monthly newsletter, both available online at fastenertech.com. Now let's turn to the back page to talk about travel plans. For the first time in nearly 500 days, I'm actually researching and making plans to attend a few in-person fastener industry events, including the Solution Industries, AIM Testing Laboratory, and NCFA trifecta of events mentioned earlier in the Newsmaker headlines. Details can be found online in the June 21st issue of the Fastener News Report, as well as online at solutionind.com/signup and ncfaonline.com/events. After that, my plans include a trip to the MWFA Fastener Show later in August and the International Fastener Expo in Las Vegas in September. The MWFA event is part of a week-long collection of fastener-related activities that are detailed in the June-July 2021 issue of Fastener Technology International magazine, also known as FTI, on pages 64 to 67, as well as online at mwfa.net. The 2021 staging of the IFI will be the 40th one produced, and registration details can be found in the industry news section of the June-July issue of FTI on pages 13 and 14, as well as online at fastenershows.com. If you're interested in speaking at the IFE, check out page 8 of the latest Fastener News Report newsletter. And if all goes well this summer, the fastener industry will finally be getting back to normal traveling and networking, as long as it doesn't run into any healthcare police along the way. And finally, for some back page bonus questions. Did you know that in the month of May, over 500,000 vehicles were taken out of production in the USA because of microchip shortages, and that Ford and Jeep were the hardest hit with 40% of the lost production, and that Intel says that it may take years to resolve the shortage? And did you know that 500,000 is roughly the same number of electrical vehicles sold in the USA in the last 3 years, with Tesla leading the way with 77% market share, followed by Chevy at 10%, Nissan at 8%, and BMW and VW combining for 5%? There are certainly exciting technical changes underfoot, but am I a pessimist or conspiracist for having occasional thoughts that the forecast electrical and autonomous vehicle revolution may not go as dreamily as predicted by virtually every economic, automotive, and political prognosticator that I have come across? It's not like the predictors of the future are ever wrong, is it? Does anyone remember predictions of the doomsday population bomb from the 1960s and the coming ice age, also known as global cooling fearmongering from the 1970s? Not to mention universal conversion of the metric system in the 1980s, Enron leading the way to a new economy in the 1990s, and renewable energy warriors projecting windmill production volume equal to that of car and truck manufacturing just over 10 years ago. And am I alone in thinking that many of the visual designs of the Tesla products are actually pretty blasé, or that windmills and solar panels pollute and damage the environment in many unique ways, including excessive noise and just plain ugliness? When thinking about the future, I say, don't forget about good old-fashioned market forces, economies of scale, supply chains, research and development, common sense technical innovations, and America's love affair with functional and beautiful vehicles and landscapes, not to mention cautionary children's tales like The Emperor's New Clothes. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
ND Industries has been increasing the safety and reliability of fastener assemblies by developing innovative materials and processes since 1955. Names like ND Patch, Thermalock, Electrolock, and Vibratite serve a wide variety of fastening applications across North America and around the world. To see our full line of innovative products or to discuss your application requirements, contact ND Industries today at www.ndindustries.com.
This is Jake Davis with BTM Manufacturing, and for over 50 years, we have been a leading manufacturer of bent wire and threaded products, including U-bolts, single and double-end studs, anchor bolts, and many more per-print items. Based in the heart of America, Kansas City, Missouri, BTM supports Fully Threaded Radio because they support our fastener industry. Being a part of FTR is almost as good as a hot cup of industry favorite U-bolt blend coffee. And if you still don't know how good that is, call BTM Manufacturing today and find out for yourself. BTM Manufacturing, commitment to service.
At Worth, status quo isn't an option. Worth is a global supply chain solutions provider of fasteners, MRO, and safety products, along with value-added services like kitting and assembly, 3D printing, and engineering assistance. Find out what Worth can do for you at worthindustry.com.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and AIM Testing Laboratory in beautiful El Cajon, California. Today's topic comes out of our Fastener Training Institute Fastener Basics webinar, the recent version, which covered socket products. And the question had to do with grades of socket products. And for example, why is it that ASTM A574 socket screws do not require a mark? And what about grade 8 socket head cap screws? Can I have or make or provide or specify a grade 8 socket head cap screw? And then there's a whole world of metric socket head cap screws. Well, when we come back, I'll explain to you why there are various grades that exist off the shelf and some others that aren't off the shelf, but maybe ought to be when we return.
Knowledge is the key to success in the fastener industry, and the Fastener Training Institute has the tools you need to succeed. From advanced to beginners training courses, the Fastener Training Institute provides a wide variety of resources to boost your team's ability to operate at an elite level. Go to fastenertraining.org to see the schedule of online and in-person classes coming up, and reach out with any questions or requests for custom course materials. The Fastener Training Institute, fastenertraining.org. Quality products, quality service, quality customers. That's 3Q Inc. a fastener distributor unlike any you've worked with before. With its unique remote managed inventory stocking programs, wide array of secondary service offerings, and wholly owned cold forming capability, 3Q Inc. has been supporting fastener distributors since 2008. 3Q offers a wide range of 100% American-made fasteners, including ITW SEMS lock washers, as well as specialty and imported parts. Give 3Q a call today to discuss your needs and experience 3Q quality for yourself. 3Q Inc. www.3q-inc.com.
Well, welcome back to the Fastener Training Minute. This is Carmen Vertullo, and today we're talking about grades of socket products. The primary grade of socket product, or specification would be a better way to say it, in the inch world is ASTM A574 for socket head cap screws. There are some other grades for button heads and flat heads, but in the alloy steel world, it's A574 for socket head cap screws, and that's a high-strength screw, 180,000 KSI. The larger size is at 170,000 KSI, and it's the strongest commercially available fastener that we have. However, from time to time, a user may want to specify a lower strength socket screw, and they'll say, I would like a grade 8. There are a variety of reasons for this. One of the main ones is avoidance of hydrogen embrittlement if you choose to plate the product. The grade 8 socket head cap screw would be 150 KSI, not as strong as the A574, but probably perfectly strong for plenty of applications. And in those other products, such as the button heads and the flat heads, because of the head configuration, those products probably can't even take full advantage of the material strength of alloy steel. So it would make sense to dial those back a little bit. But those things just simply do not exist in the inch world off the shelf. It doesn't mean you can't make them. And if the quantity is sufficient, you can make them at a reasonable cost. So my suggestion is this: when the customer asks for a grade 8 socket screw, you can quote it. Just quote it being made. If the quantity's large, they probably won't see a price issue. It can be made from the same material. It's just quenched and tempered a little bit differently. In fact, we have taken ASTM A574 socketed cap screws and tempered them back to make them into grade 8 strength products. They would not have the grade 8 mark, though. Customer probably doesn't care about that. But my suggestion is this to anyone who's a socket manufacturer out there, and I made this suggestion in the webinar: we need to develop an off-the-shelf product line of grade 8 socket screws, socket head cap screws, button heads, flat heads, low heads, and maybe even grade 5s, which would be even less expensive because those would not be made of alloy steel. Those could be made of boron steel. Even the grade 8s could be made of boron steel. So we don't have that in the inch world. Somebody needs to make it, because most of those buttons and flats aren't even used in high-strength applications. People use them because they like the way they look. If we look at the metric world, they have this completely covered, because all of those products, the button heads, the flat heads, the socket head cap screws, the low heads, they even have a thing called an extra low head. Those all are available in property classes 8.8, which is like a grade 5, property class 10.9, which is like a grade 8, and of course the 12.9 property class, which is similar to the ASTM A574 socket head cap screw. That's why it's much easier to get metric plated socket screws without the risk of hydrogen embrittlement, because they are readily available in those lower strength classes which don't have the hydrogen embrittlement risk. Well, I hope you learned something there, and I hope someone will take up my suggestion to develop a line of inch socket products that are grade 5 and grade 8 so that we can catch up with the metric world. This has been Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute. Thanks for listening.
business, it's all that you do. Work for others, but that was the drag. On your own now makes your tail wag. You're on your own and you're using your smile. Your smartphone's buzzing as you cruise the miles. Selling screws is such a natural thing. They're placing orders on the samples you bring. Ooh, 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 drywall screws. Import order didn't come through. Search on Google and there's lots around. Buy the carton, the keg or the pound. No longer do you have to be afraid for your commissions on the deals you made. Some people have such a peculiar style. They keep your money while they give you a smile. Ooh, 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 Jackie Screw. Grow your business, it's all you can do. Work Ohio, clear down to Kentucky. Leave the West Coast to guys like Joe Truckey. Ooh, Jackie. Ooh, Jackie. Ooh, Jackie. Yeah, 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 yeah.
This is Leo Core, editor of Distributors Link magazine, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Well, it's feature segment time, and with today's general theme being summertime diversions, I thought it really appropriate to invite two voices who are long overdue on the podcast, because among other things, both are known as the big guns in the fastener golf world, mainly out west, as the Pacific Fastener Association has been the leader in golf for obvious reasons for many years. Joining us now from Cal Fasteners is Joe Truckey, and driving the cart next to him, it's Bob Reynolds, founder and president of INxSQL Software. Gentlemen, welcome back to Fully Threaded.
Hi, Eric. And everybody else, hey, Bob.
Hey, Joe. How you doing, bud?
Good.
Been too long, gentlemen. As a matter of fact, Joe, you were way back on episode 2 of the podcast, if you can believe that.
I remember that.
Were you about 30 then, Joe?
Just about. What is that? That's 10 or 11 years ago, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, well, we just recently passed our 10-year anniversary episode, so sounds about right, guys. Thanks for remembering.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I remember in those early days when I used to talk to you, Joe, you were having severe knee problems and you were really most despondent over that whole situation because of its impact on your golf game.
Oh, yeah. Well, back then, I played with a crutch on my leg. Golfing right-handed, my front leg's the left leg. It was my leg that was the problem, not my knee.
He actually kneeled on this thing. I played with him. And when you talk about how bad his game was, he must have lost at least one stroke over 18 holes, with that thing. He was unbelievable with it on, man. As a matter of fact, one year in the outing out there, I think you actually played with that on, Joe.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It's not about the golf. It's about being out with the guys, hanging around with other people. Golf's part of it, but it was just that I wanted to be out there. I don't know that many people that would have done the same thing with the crutch on their left leg. But, yeah, it wasn't too tough.
Yeah, there's not many. You're a fanatic, and that's what it takes, I guess, to get to your level. You guys were widely known for dominating out there. You had an interesting group of teammates, too. I mean, refresh our memory.
Well, the last time I think we had my son, Joey, and I think Bob Porteous. Or was that one time and then another time? And
We had Joey and we had your brother Bob and you and I, and we won it. We had Bob Porteous on our team and we won it. We had my son on the team. My son Brent, and we won it.
Yeah.
We had my son Rob, and we won it. Yeah, I guess you can kind of call that, a little bit of an advantage
right.
as far as winning. I think everybody just took it easy on us because we usually sponsor and give them golf balls.
Well, hey, even before that, we had my dad. We had some guy named Chuck from CHR. Man, that's going back a long time, though.
It is. Yeah, and I don't think, while I played some rounds of golf with you and Bob and your father, I didn't play in the outing with him. But what a great guy. We miss him.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of Bobs involved in this. So you have Bob Reynolds, you got Bob Truckey, you got Bob Porteous, and then there's your son, Bob, who's Rob. So you could have gone out with Bob, and Rob.
And Bob Truckey Sr.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you really think that there's any undue influence given to the suppliers, or do the suppliers sort of let the customers win ever? I mean, is there any of that on the Fastener golf scene as far as you guys have known?
Well, there's been a few.
Really?
Well, you got Bob Reynolds, another Bob. But no, there were people that just went to the company that worked at their companies that would play. There wasn't a lot of people that naturally played golf every day or once a week or whatever.
Oh, no, I get that. But what I'm asking is, did either side let the other win? Did they defer because of a business relationship, or was it cutthroat out there?
You are talking to the wrong guys. We want to win everything we get involved in, right, Joe?
That's right. There was a few groups that were cutthroat. I mean, that's the only reason you want to win, right?
Yeah,
right.
Like what about those Lehman sisters?
They were good, and they
are good. Yeah.
Of course, they're younger.
They don't have the pain that us old men have, But I can tell you this, Eric, the bottom line was we either wanted to win first place or last because, who could turn down a case of Busch Light?
Yes. The FTR award, still a tradition around here. Thank you for remembering that, too.
So Busch has a light beer, huh?
And you don't want to be drinking it. Believe me, Joe.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, we used to consume quite a bit of it during our various fishing trips, mainly because what we found was that we'd pack all our beer in for the day, and sometimes it got pretty hot. We found it was the only one that tasted as good hot as it did cold. So, and when I say as good, use your imagination.
Right.
So there's a reason we put it down there as the whammy prize. But you still got an attractive FTR golf hat, too, in the deal, so it wasn't a complete sucker prize.
There you go.
Yeah.
Are they still doing the Mel out there, the Mel Kirshner Open? I don't think I've seen any headlines about that recently.
I think COVID.
Yeah, COVID canceled it, and I don't know. It had gone to every other year, perhaps. I think that's where it was at last time.
Oh,
I believe maybe in 19, we did. Rob went in my place, and he's the best golfer in our family, and in sequel. He gets invited regularly by customers to their invitationals because he's a scratch golfer. He played in college, and he was a pro for a little while. And, he probably made the least amount of money of any pro ever, but he's going to love hearing this. He was on one of the Florida junior tour, or not junior, but feeder type tours for a little while. But he came to work for me a few years later, and Joe and Bob have used him a few times for to help out in some foursomes, and I've used him many times. So,
are you kidding? Yeah. He's renowned in the industry now, Bob. He's got his title of Big Country Reynolds for a reason.
Because he hits it a country mile.
I think it was when we went to Montana. We played out there. Bob and I challenged him because it wasn't any big tournament or anything. Bob and I played against him because he's a scratch golfer.
Right.
I think we got him. I can't remember.
Did you? He got to the point. I think he enjoys the game a whole lot more now that he doesn't have to play it to, put food on the table. So, and I'm sure that we're all kind of that way,
Right.
If we're standing over a 6-foot putt and we need to make it to make a cut or whatever, it's a whole different thing than, we need to make it to move on to the next hole.
Exactly. We didn't play. I didn't play this last weekend. I usually play Friday and Saturday, and they had a member guest tournament. So the course is closed unless I play in the member guest. So I thought, it's been a while, so I thought I'd hang out with my wife because she always complains, well, you get to play golf Friday and Saturday. Well, I said, well, we'll see how you like it now. So I hung around her all day Friday. And Saturday, we went out to Irvine and bought a couple electric bikes. And I thought, that'd be fun. I could do that with her on Sunday or whatever. She took it out for like an hour yesterday with me, and then she wanted to go back because it was getting too hot. So she's got like 5 miles on her bike, and I got like 35 miles. So I'm looking forward to like getting in a group or something different, and making her part of it. That way, when she says, you get to go Friday and Saturday golfing, but now I'll say, but I take you bike riding.
Oh, yeah. You know how to do it.
Joe is a smart man.
For you young guys out there, this is years of experience speaking.
Exactly.
Good job, Joe.
There were many years that I used to tell my friends that I owned a boat, and it was so that I could go golfing. My wife would take the kids out on the boat, and I'd be at the golf course.
Yeah, there's the trade-off.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one in every relationship, and that could be a marital relationship or business or otherwise. And let's face it, golf is a great device for forging relationships that go way beyond the golf course. That's kind of one of the themes of the podcast today. I tell you, I've had a lot of really interesting experiences myself with guys in my boat, and I'll hop in their boat sometimes. I'm not really that much into the golf game myself, but I do envy you guys because it is such a social activity. And the West Coast Fastener Association has been a hotbed for it, of course, for obvious reasons. You have that beautiful weather. Joe, you're down there in Southern California.
Yeah.
And Bob, you wisely made a real beachhead for yourself with INxSQL software because when we were just getting started in this business, it was impossible not to notice you were really strong out there in the West Coast. Did you do that by design because you love the golf so much?
Well, I can't tell a lie. I mean, it's great weather out there, and I usually brought clubs, and probably before I snuck out of town, there were many times that I spent Friday with the Truckies at Alta Vista, their golf course, and had some dinner and then left early Saturday morning to get back home. So that and the fact that, obviously California is a hotbed for distribution. And I think I probably personally sold 50 systems of customers up and down the coast. So,
right.
And speaking of that, Joe, you were one of the first, maybe the first in California.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
I met Joe
2005.
I met Joe because I was smart enough to put beer in my booth at the at the NIFS show, now the IFE show, and he and his dad came by and they were tired, and I was shoved in the little corner of the overseas room, if you guys know what I'm talking about, and they sat there, and while I talked to different people, they had a couple beers, and then we talked for a little bit. It wasn't that much longer after that they were a customer, and really, literally within weeks, we were on the golf course together, found a mutual love for golf.
Yeah.
I really ticked your dad off that one time I used his putter and made a bunch of long putts with it, Joe.
Yeah, I think you used my golf clubs, right?
Yeah, I just borrowed some clubs, Eric, from them. And Joe goes, here's an old putter of my dad's. And I got hot with it, and I was sinking stuff from all over. And he was like, I need my putter back,
Yeah, because I putt left-handed.
Right. Yeah. So it was a right-handed putter, but hey, buying some drinks afterwards in the clubhouse with Bob Senior and his buddies, I think it kind of enamored me to him. I wasn't just that guy that came out to steal his skins money anymore. So.
Well, we gave you a pretty good handicap too, though.
Oh yeah, I'm not as good a golfer as you guys.
But you played good that day.
I did. Every once in a while, that's what you ever hear the old line where you made that one shot and it brings you back.
Oh yeah.
Every once in a while you get one of those one rounds like that. So
right.
Yeah.
Is golf like that? You hit a drive and you're watching it arc through the sky gracefully, and suddenly you're transported back to a long ago memory. Does it work like that? Because it happens to me in fishing sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. There's just memories, and I don't golf with Rob very often anymore because we live in two different states, but I can tell you that when we do get together in golf, or he and I and my other son, Brent, who works at INxSQL as well, there's just times that I think back to when I had them in junior golf, and, they were running around and all they wanted to do was drive the cart and, go into the halfway house. And one day, Brandy, who also works at INxSQL and is my right-hand person, she came out. She had a soda in one hand, or pop, as we call it in Michigan. She had a candy bar in another, and I had told them, let my kids have whatever they want. She came out and she goes, "Look, Dad, and it's all free." All I had to do was tell them your name. But yeah, there's, bringing up that thought process. There's times that you'll sit back and you'll remember a hole. I'll remember a hole where, Joe hit, driver and 5-wood on some almost 600-yard hole for us. And one of us makes a putt and we get an eagle and a skin and, and those are the types of things that you do remember.
I remember the time you hit the cart girl.
Hey, Joe, you're not supposed to say that on this.
She pulled right up there in front of us, and I'm going, she has more guts than I do. That's it.
With the golf ball, I hope you're meaning.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and I didn't hit her. I hit the cart. Let's be honest here. And I have to say, in full disclosure, that wasn't the only time that I hit a beer cart in my career. So. Joe, at least 2 times with you and Bob.
Right,
so.
Right.
But, it was after I came back from one of my many foot surgeries, and I hadn't swung in quite some time. So,
Well, you couldn't put any pressure on it.
Right.
So you couldn't have your normal swing.
Kind of swinging from one foot. And, but, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So.
Well, you guys and your disabilities, your feet and your knees and all that, I mean, I only take that with so much sympathy, because I remember, Joe, you were getting this knee replacement. You were anticipating it for a while. You finally had it. And then I called you a couple months later. This is years back. And I said, "How you doing, man? I'm just calling to check up on you." And you said, "Well, I had it done. I went out on the course, got an ace."
Yeah.
Wasn't it like your first round back?
No, that wasn't a knee replacement. That was still my leg. That went on for like 4 years. But I had a knee replacement, and the doctor told me, he says, "No, you can't hurt your knee." I said, "I can't?" He goes, "No, it might hurt you, but you can't hurt it." So I said, "Well, why wait?" I went out and golfed like a week after I got out of the hospital. And yeah, it hurt, but they have pills for that. I shot really good. And then I did the same thing. I had the other knee done. And ever since I had my knees done with the 2 years of rehab that I did, now I walk the course, and I used to look out my window at work and watch people walking by at lunch, and it used to get me upset because they didn't know what they had. They were able to walk. I wasn't. It used to drive me nuts. And I'm sitting here with an IV in my arm. But those were the days, man. And it's a lot better to play golf and walk if you can. Now, if it gets too hot, yeah, you take the cart.
Well, in my case, with the surgeries I've had on my foot and ankle, I have to take a cart now. But still, getting out there and being with people, being outdoors, I still enjoy it. So there were many days back when Rob used to golf, and I would caddy for him. And some days carry his bag for 36 holes. So I remember those days fondly.
Oh, yeah.
And I literally, Eric, sometimes remember in the morning that I had a dream and I was running. Because, at one point in time, I was an athlete. You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, well, nothing like being injured or laid up to make you really appreciate good health.
Oh, absolutely.
That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's roll back for a second to the topic of Bob Porteous, because he's a name that so many people in the audience still remember, I'm sure. And for the younger people in the audience, Bob and his brother Barry were owners and operators of the powerhouse Porteous Fasteners, which has been gone now for several years. And that was, I believe, it was acquired by by Brighton Best ultimately. But they were huge supporters of the golf scene out there. Now, he was a really great guy. Was he a good golfer?
Yes, he was a good golfer. I'm assuming he still is. But, anytime you had Bob in your foursome, he always had some good stories. He hit some good shots. And, he just was a very positive aspect to being in your foursome. And, he didn't look down on things like, when his partner, like me, hit the ball, like 50 feet right of the green and stuff like that. He wouldn't look at you like Bob and say, "What the F was that?"
Yeah, because that's not what golf's about. You're out there to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm just picking on Bob. He's my buddy.
Yeah.
Was Barry much of a golfer? I never heard about him playing.
Not at all, as far as I know.
No, he wasn't.
He was just a surfer dude.
He's an artist.
Yep. Sculptor, did a lot of different things. He was a real Renaissance man, that guy.
Yeah.
I always had that impression. Only spoke to him once at an NFDA meeting.
Pretty humble guy.
Yep, really good guy. I can remember sitting in a Pac West meeting where people were talking about their owners meeting. I'm sorry, where the owners were talking about, what do I do when I find out I have an employee that has credit problems? And I think Barry floored the whole meeting when he said, well, I bring them in and talk to them about it. Then I pay their credit card off and, ask them to cut it up. And there were people literally with their jaws on their chest, probably including me. And afterwards, there were people that just said, you know what? He's read off a chip off the old block from his father. Just a great guy.
Yeah, you always hear good things about Barry from his employees. He took care of them.
Well, when you mention being a chip off the old block, his father, Bud Porteous, founded the company. And if you had a chance to read the history of Porteous, they produced a book. It was shortly before they sold the company. And it described how they were going through some super hard times and they just pulled together. I mean, that company really had a lot of grit. And when employees were experiencing similar things, that's what they did. They got behind them. They were, in every sense of the word, a family-oriented company.
Yeah, they were.
Really, really solid people.
Yeah, I remember the warehouse used to be in Commerce. And then they bought a big old warehouse out there. Where was it, Bob?
Long Beach?
It was somewhere out by Long Beach.
Yeah.
And it was like 10 times the size of the one they had in Commerce.
It wasn't Long Beach, but it was where did they park the Queen Mary?
That was Long Beach.
That was Long Beach? Yeah, it was pretty close to that. Yep.
Spruce Goose was out there.
Right.
Howard Hughes, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
If Brian was on the call, that would be like a 10-minute diversion right there.
Well, I was thinking as you're talking, Eric, that it's kind of sad when these institutions that are family-owned go away, like Porteous. And we have a good relationship with many, suppliers that are out there, tons of customers, as well as those that we have hooked up through the Direct Connect, which, by the way, was Barry Porteous's idea from the get-go. And he and I, put that together.
Wow, cool. I never knew that.
Yep. And, but, it just, you'd go to lunch with him and he would sit there and ask you how you're doing, what's going on, what can we do to help you out? I mean, just at least that's how he was with me. And I always just thought, he and Bob together, true gentlemen, and totally enjoyed what little time I had with them, while they were in business.
Well, the old Porteous team, some of them are still out there. Of course, Bruce Darling's long retired. We had him on the podcast a couple of years ago while he was out there still sort of consulting to the fastener industry. Love to get him back on. A couple of the guys are at Solution Industries. And I know at least one is at Star.
Right.
So they still have an influence on the industry. Well, we mentioned the Port of L.A. Of course, you're down there in that vicinity, Joe,
Yep.
And this is a fastener podcast, right? So we should probably make some mention. What are you seeing out there? Is it still just a traffic jam out there in the harbor? I think that it is, but what are you seeing there on the ground?
Well, the suppliers they won't sell you anything unless it's in their warehouse. They don't tell you that they have it coming in because I don't know why, but because it's so busy. We had a record breaker month last month, and we had our server was down for like a week and a half.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me you got hit with a ransomware thing, didn't you?
Well, we didn't, but the people that manage our server.
Right, the cloud.
Right. And so they locked up all our data and then sifted through it to make sure it was okay. But that was a tough time, boy, for 2 weeks. I was on pins and needles just wondering, what the heck, when's this going to end? And it's coming to an end now. We're still going through it a little bit by changing the software and the security and everything else.
But in spite of all of that, and in spite of all of the supply problems, you still hammered it sales-wise.
Yes. So it's unbelievable. I don't know how we did it. Got to give the glory to God on that one.
There you go.
Yeah. But it's hard to find items. You place an order. This is what purchasing's telling me. They'll place an order for stuff that they just quoted them, and then they'll say the parts are gone. I mean, it's happening that bad. It's really bad. So I quoted an order a week and a half ago to some company in New Zealand. So they gave me the order last week, and I said, go ahead and order them, see if they're still there. And now the ship dates back. It's like August, September, and October for 3 different items. They were stock.
Right.
So
now you're shipping actually to a lot of countries. I mean, on your website, it says you're going out to India, Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan, Japan, all over the place.
Right.
Is it as problematic getting material out of the country as it is getting it in these days?
It just depends on the product, but it's not hard to ship it. No, not if we have it. We ship everything like once a week on Thursday. Everything goes out of here on Thursday. Sometimes it hangs in there till Monday, but it's just unbelievable. The solar industry is just crazy, but that's the sign of the times, right? Look who's president.
Right.
So, so everybody hears about people in California being all these liberals. Well, we're not all liberals. And I could get along with a liberal if they don't talk. Now, I don't know if you want to edit that out. Somebody might get pissed off at me for that one, but
maybe.
Well, we are a fully sponsored show, Joe.
Well, we have a little pocket here, Orange County, but I could see it shrinking. It's changing. They're going after our kids that are going to college, and let's face it, some of our kids just go right along with them, and some of them don't. It just depends on their personality. But
how fast they grow up.
Yeah. But you still love them, and you let them have their say. They don't let you have your say, though. Probably because I've drilled it into them my whole life, their whole life.
They've heard it, is what you're saying?
Oh, yeah.
You refuse to be canceled.
Yes.
All right, I like that. Bob, what's the software situation looking like? You've got a very interesting vantage point looking at the fastener industry from a provider point of view. And of course, INxSQL software is ubiquitous in the industry. With your Direct Connect system, you're connecting fastener distributors to master importers and suppliers. And that's something we could talk about for a long time. But in general, are you noticing anything with this gangbusters business environment?
Well, yes, of course, everybody's seeing some pent up demand that, wasn't fulfilled last year. And in our case, that's true as well. We did actually have half dozen or so new customers that went live through COVID. I had people on site. Our salespeople weren't traveling, but we did have some project managers, which includes Brandy, Christy, out on site to help people go live during the initial week or weeks. And I would say that our sales this year are well ahead of last year. Last year being down maybe a few $100,000 in new deals, but less cost for travel. So that, was almost a wash. And I guess we're lucky in that regard. And there were many nights where I'm sure like all of your listeners, where I went to bed thinking, am I going to be able to make payroll, et cetera, et cetera. And yet we didn't seem to have that issue. A lot of our customers, all of our customers just continued to do business, and we helped out where we could with anybody that was having a problem. That said, I think unless we have a real downturn in the economy, which could happen, we're looking at a good positive year this year and for the next couple of years. We are unique, like you said, in that you're talking to Joe and he's buying product, putting it in their warehouse. You know, we don't do that, but we do see our customers do it, and we help them out through many different things. One of the things that's hot, I don't know if you've heard of this product, but it's called Smart Cert.
Oh yeah, we had Lyndon on the podcast a couple episodes ago. Yeah.
So INxSQL is partnering with Smart Cert, and we just introduced it at our user conference last week. And Lyndon and Lonnie there are working with our team, and we're going to be fully integrated with it. I think the initial rollout has integration, but there'll be even further steps towards that, making it easier to use. The great thing about it is we already handled certs and did some different ways to, like for Cal Fasteners to get those certs to their customers. But this is if, Joe sends out a box that has some bolts in it, and they have certs attached, instead of, shoving them in the box and shipping the box out, there's just a UR code that's on the box. And no matter where that goes, if it's sold twice or, lost and found again, somebody can take their phone and scan that UR code, and they can actually get those documents. So they'll have the certs, and so they're still a viable product. And that's big, because if Joe just shipped it elsewhere, the way he does now out of our software, and somebody found it in a warehouse, 3 years down the road, they probably aren't going to know to go back to whoever Joe sold that to, and then they would go to Joe to get the certs. So it's a nice solution, very eloquent solution, and we're tying into it. And I think we're the first ERP solution to fully commit to it. And so it's just another club in the bag, so to speak, that we can use to make sure our customers have the best solution out there.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Go back to episode 163, folks. You can hear an expanded description of Smart Cert. We had Carmen Vertullo and also Matt Boyd from Parker Fasteners. They launched with Smart Cert recently, and I was really glad when I saw that announcement, Bob.
Well, we've got one of our bigger customers, Advanced Components, that is partnered with Parker and with Smart Cert, and we were looking at what they were doing, and we had a meeting with our team and Gary and his team, and we came up with how we were going to do this, and then we've enhanced how that interface is going to work so that it'll work for more than just Advanced Components, working with Parker Fasteners or other suppliers or customers. Excuse me.
I'm going to get Brian to reach out to Darren and figure out what ramifications that has for the FCH upload directly from INxSQL, because that would be great if we could port that up.
Yeah, it's basically a URL code, just a URL that has in it a code that's the lot number and there's some other data in there, and that ties to these certs that are on a website. And I'm simplifying this, obviously, but, and so if you've got that URL in your database, then you can go find the certs. It's really cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. You got it all recorded, right?
Yeah, you can listen in about 4 days, Joe. Hear it all again. But I'm glad we got a chance to talk a little business here in this conversation, because we were prone to spend the whole thing talking golf. And speaking of that, I know the Pac West just had an event and it was virtual, but I'm sure that they're doing some kind of golfing. And so my question is, are you two planning to meet up on the golf course again anytime soon, or is that undetermined? And
we've talked about it, but COVID,
Right. Yeah. It's, my thought is hopefully that I'm going to, gather up Rob, and he and I and the Truckey brothers are going to hit the links this fall. I'll come out and visit with some customers with Rob, and, that's his territory now. So, and I don't miss flying out there every week, or every other week. But I do miss being out there and seeing my customers, as well as seeing my buddies like Joe and Bob.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing is you got to wear a mask. I can't stand a mask. And, being in a liberal state, well, our area is not too bad, but I know you go to LA County and everywhere you still have to have a mask on. Well, shoot, everybody's had the shot, I thought. I didn't have one, but I had the disease. I had it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I have the antibodies. I just had a blood test. I said, see if I have them. I still have them. I don't see how they can go away,
No, and once you have them, it's, the severity of the symptoms that you can get is way down.
Right.
Yeah, pretty sad. I hope everybody in you guys' families, made it through this okay without any concerns or losses, heaven forbid. I'm lucky in that our business, our employees, which we consider family, as well as my immediate family and anybody that I know, really, friend-wise, we didn't lose anybody. But, that may make me unique in that way. But I can tell you that, I was very afraid of some of that happening,
Yeah. I wasn't afraid of it. I kind of wanted to get it so I could get it over with. So I did.
There you go. Yeah, it's a mixed bag out there, guys. Well, I do hope you make good on that and get yourselves out on the course again in beautiful California, regardless of the politics and other influences. Here's a question, though. In the event that doesn't happen sooner, what are your plans for Vegas? That's right around the corner, hard to believe. Speaking of summertime diversions. September. I mean, we can consider that summer, kind of, huh?
We're there. We have...
INxSQL will be there.
We'll be there. We have the same setup with, I can't remember if it's 6 or 8 booths, that we've had in the past.
Oh, it's a monster. You have a monster floor plan every year.
Yeah, and we've got a little bit different flavor, different look and design. We had planned that for 2020, and it'll come out in 21 here. But we've got a full complement of people. I think I've got 9 people, including myself, that'll be out there. And so it's good for us to meet prospective customers, but it's also great for us to see existing customers. And we have a little over 350 customers in North America today. So we're a little different than when you and I sat down and first started talking.
Are you going, Bob?
Yes, I'm going.
Well, maybe I can bring Bob with me. And then we can stop at your booth and have a beer, and then we'll go play some golf.
Yeah, which you failed to mention there, Mr. Reynolds. You're going to have a few kegs lined up. I know you.
Yeah, we'll have beer. Yeah, the first day is always beer for us. So,
ladies and gentlemen, Bob Reynolds has been a visionary in more than just one way around here.
I figured they might not know us, but they know what beer is. So.
Yes. This is the fastener industry after all. And, well, I'm glad that you'll be out there because you took a couple off. And, Joe, it sounds like you're heading out to Vegas as well. So it'll be good to see you. You are sometimes there, sometimes not. But you and your brother will be there. Cal Fasteners will be walking the exhibit hall, not riding, I take it. And that'll be great.
Yep.
Be good to get out there again.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've been locked down for how long?
Exactly.
Yeah, too long.
Looking forward to it.
Well, it's summertime. I couldn't think of a better way to kick off the podcast season than have you guys on, and I sure do appreciate you jumping on. We covered a little bit of ground. Hopefully people got some idea about maybe what it used to be like, or if they haven't gone out on the links lately, that'll inspire them. Some people have a hard time dragging themselves out there, but it's well worth it, especially when you can do it to make good on some business relationships, huh?
Well, that's one thing they didn't shut down here. They shut it down for a week, our course, and then they opened it back up.
Wow. Well, it is California, nothing would surprise me.
Yeah. Well, Eric, you mentioned, business on the golf course, which is part of the thought process, I think. And I was just recalling that the first Pac West golf outing that I was in, and it was called WAFTA back then, I think, and WAFD.
Right.
And I rode on a cart with Rick Peterson from All West, and Rick was a customer. I think that All West is still using INxSQL, but they were bought by another company, and he sold out recently. But it was a few years in the making before, he and Mark actually bought INxSQL. But that's where I met Rick. And so there's a real case in point right there.
Yeah.
It was quite the foursome. We had Lou Boyd in there, too.
Oh, God. The Olander Company.
He's retired, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, he has. Yeah. And Rick, I spoke with him just a couple, 2-3 weeks ago. And yeah, he sold the Endries, and he is now fully, happily retired. And I imagine maybe you'll run into him on a golf course somewhere. Well,
Yep.
gentlemen,
Yep.
It's been a pleasure. See you in Vegas, I guess.
Yeah.
It's been our pleasure, absolutely. Thanks. Nice talking to everybody.
Thanks, guys.
It's always good to talk to you, Eric and Bob. I'm looking forward to hitting some balls with you out here.
Absolutely, Joe. Eric, nice talking to you, buddy, and look forward to seeing both of you at the IFE.
Sounds good. Hey, folks, we'll be back momentarily with more Fully Threaded Radio.
Are you tired of empty promises from software vendors? Are you paying for support that you're not receiving? Is it time for another paid upgrade? There is a solution. INxSQL delivers quality software designed for the fastener industry at an affordable price with industry-leading support. Quality software, affordable pricing, industry-leading support. Only INxSQL can deliver all three. www.INxSQL.com.
Stelfast customers say it all.
Travis Hermanson, Pacific Bolt Manufacturing out of Vancouver, BC, Canada. I use Stelfast as one of my main suppliers. They've been a consistent, great vendor of mine. I've used them for many years now. I've never had any issues. And whenever we are in a jam and we need to get skids and skids of products out the door, out of the warehouse, Stelfast jumps on it right away. Their pricing. Always very competitive, and they're always my first phone call. I'm a big supporter of Stelfast, and I continue to be one for as long as I can.
For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast.
At Brighton Best, we continue to expand our wide range of products, including stainless steel and metric fasteners. Our family of brands include Preferred, US Anchor, and Ironclad Performance Wear. BBI has been a trusted partner since 1925. With award-winning hand tools, gloves, and drywall screws, BBI is the largest master distributor of fasteners in the USA. Tested, tried, and true. We are Brighton Best. To learn more about Brighton Best, visit brightonbest.com.
This is Frank DeVito from Solution Industries, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Hey, Brian, I noticed we published a podcast titled Unmask back in 2017. We were really ahead of our time, huh?
Oh, really? Yeah, right. What were we unmasking?
That was episode 115. Well, I think we were making fun of all of the political punditry. Remember, they were throwing that term unmasking around? And just more ass clownery by the media. Anyway, now it's got a whole different connotation, and it's definitely one that Joe Truckey appreciates. That's clear.
And we should point out that Joe is a very long time FCH member. He's one of the first members, not one of the true first, but very, very, very early on.
Yeah, Cal Fasteners has been on the network for many years. And as I pointed out, Joe also joined us on episode 2 of Fully Threaded Radio. So
yeah, right.
He's been friend of the podcast for a long time.
And a friend of FCH.
That's true. Bob Reynolds, too.
Yeah.
So it was great to have them on. I sure do appreciate that. Also, Paul Musgrove of EFC International, Marc Strandquist of Optimas joined Mike McNulty on the Fastener News Report. Mike has really turned that segment almost unto a podcast of its own. It could stand alone. Great job, gentlemen. Thank you. And, of course, Carmen Vertullo rolling out the fastener know-how, as always. Look forward to seeing him discussing hydrogen embrittlement at Solution Industries on July 8th. Hope to see a lot of you listeners out there as well.
Yeah. because I'm going to be there too.
Plus the lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey, if all goes well.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to have Solution Industries as one of our longtime sponsors, and we have a great lineup, and it is a great list, which goes like this. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stealthfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. It's Stealthfast. Brighton Best International. Tested, tried, true. Brighton Best. Gobel Fasteners. Quality the first time. Gobel. Fully Threaded is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Technology International, INxSQL Software, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, Solution Industries, 3Q Inc., Volt Industrial Plastics, and Worth Industry North America. Let us know what you think of the podcast, folks. If you have comments, questions, suggestions, the email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. You can catch us on LinkedIn as well. There's an FCH Sourcing Network page also, so please check that out, join up, and the next episode of the podcast should be kind of interesting. We have a little something different for you in mind. It's still taking form, but basically a lot of it's going to take place at the NCFA Social, plus a barbecue that's happening in connection with that. So it's going to be good. Don't miss it. As we mentioned, we'll also be taking a look at how the training is going for the Tough Mudder event. This will be the last check-in we have before the big day. And we'll be welcoming a major new sponsor to the podcast.
Wow, who could that be?
Always leave them with a cliffhanger, Brian.
Okay.
Well, since the whole episode was pretty much a diversion this time, maybe we should get right to the point and just put this one in the can. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. I've got all these diversions I have to get on with, okay?
You mean like actual work?
Yeah. Right.
I got a little bit of that piled up here too. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We really do appreciate it. We hope you share the podcast with your business associates, friends, everybody you know who might be looking for a diversion from their predominantly fastener-related day. Until next time, for Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws,
and get diverted and have fun.
Exactly. And we'll talk to you next time.
Next time, folks.
Esau killed a hunter back in 1969. And before the killing was done, his inheritance was mine. But his birthright was the one to wait before we're banned. Esau gained his sleeplessness and a piece of foreign land. Our father favored Esau, who was eager to obey all the bloody wild commandments the old man shot his way. But all his favor ended when my brother failed at war. He staggered home, found me in the door. Esau's gates on mirrors anymore. His pale reflection in the door. Yet sometimes at night I dream, still that hairy man, shadow box of the apocalypse, wandering the land. Shadow box of the apocalypse, wandering the land.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse.
Well, I screwed that up, didn't I?